Thank you everyone for joining today with our webinar, Virtual Vibrancy Strategy for Communities, an overview of the program. So we'll go ahead and get started shortly. So the goal of our Inspire series, which you're joining in today, is to share valuable insights and lessons to support your innovation journey. So today we're going to be focusing on Virtual Vibrancy Strategy for Communities, the program that we are launching in August. So let's jump in. So to get us started, I'd like to hear about, from our audience using the Zoom chat. Share, if you can, in a short sentence, share a challenge that your community is facing, or something that's keeping you up at night in relation to your organization. I know one of the things that might be on top of your mind is the pandemic, but let's hear from our audience and see what comes up. Okay, so we are hearing from Jenny about closed parks and limited ways the community can safely connect. Yes, absolutely. Small businesses trying to build a market, it is especially challenging during the pandemic when you are social distancing, trying to be responsible with everyone's health. We hear from Alex, day-to-day function of public services communications, absolutely, especially transparency, clear communication with our public is crucial at this point. Of course, that will continue, I'm sure, as we move forward post-pandemic. So thank you for sharing those challenges. I think one of the key insights that I've personally experienced and learned from working with various communities and organizations is the power of collaboration when tackling tough, complex challenges like you shared with us today. And the first step in effective collaboration is listening and learning from one another. So thank you everyone for sharing. So let's jump into today's session. Let's look at what we have planned for you today, the agenda. So today we are going to introduce you to the program we have planned for 2020 Vibrancy Strategy Cohort Program. What is it? Why would an individual, an organization, a community invest in such a program? Who is involved? The methodology and then the process that we use to help the communities and organizations come up with innovation solutions to tough challenges, and what the tool we use, the virtual platform. I think more and more we are getting used to different platforms. Sprint-based is the virtual platform that we will be using for the program. And I'll spend a little bit of time sharing stories from the teams that went through the program this past year and wrap up with Q&A. So here are a few quotes that tell us why strategy, having a vision, and goals are important for communities. So we see here in one of the colored boxes, the reason most people never reach their goals is that they don't define them. So we know that having a vision, having those checkpoints throughout can be very important when trying to accomplish big vision. And winners can tell you where they're going, what they plan to do along the way, and who will be sharing the adventures with them. So your key stakeholders, your actions, all those things. And another bullet point here, leaders from many sectors of the community have to collaborate before they can take the steps that allow sustainable growth to take off. And I think one of the key things here is that sustainability, the capacity from a community and organization perspective. So going into information about the cohort program here, just a quick overview of what it is and what you need to potentially participate is, first and foremost, this cohort program is a leadership development program and a community change program, or an impact program, as I like to call it. As we like to say, vibrant community needs a vibrancy strategy and the community leaders that implement the strategy. So for the program itself, it's quite simple. And in some ways it's simple, it's not, but to get ready, you need a leader, up to 2 for this particular program. and a community team that can help mobilize, build sustainability, and identify a tough challenge. Earlier, when we just started the webinar, some of you shared those tough challenges that you're facing, you're trying to tackle. So why would you do this in a cohort format instead of maybe hiring a consultant? Is that, this program helps build a common vision and energizes hope inside organization, throughout the community. We've seen this happen all the time when working with various communities throughout the US. And as part of the process of this program, it helps increase community engagement and buy-in. And we'll share a little bit about the process of how that happens, and build community leadership capacity, which we know is a common challenge many of our organizations and communities face. And another challenge is the funding part, right? So part of this process is to also come up with a strategy, a plan that help with grant requests and contributions, so that not only are you able to come up with a strategy, but have a sustainable way to fund those initiatives. So, when there is a plan, you're ready to engage those funders. So moving on to the next slide. As you see also the time frame here, August 18th and November 20th, it's a 3-month engagement. The key takeaways that you can expect from engaging in the program is understanding the methodology, design thinking. So we'll dive into more of the process there in a bit, and designing a vibrancy strategy, including creative solutions to real challenges that the communities are facing, and building essential leadership skills, not only to lead teams, but also having those virtual and in-person engagements. I think right now, a lot of us are questioning, how do I come up with a strategy when all of the members are virtual? So we have a way to help solve some of those challenges as a cohort. And engaging one another, I think the power of this cohort program, what we've seen, is that each community is distinctive. Some of the challenges that they may be facing could have some commonalities, but when we put all the brightest minds together, we're able to be inspirational to one another. You're able to collaborate on projects and build those long-lasting partnerships for future opportunities. And we have that Sprint base, which is the virtual platform. We'll share a little bit more about that with you as well, enjoying and access to that for 1 year. And of course, kind of that credential of earning that Vibrancy Strategy digital badge. And on the right side, I just want to recognize Esther Hart is a graphic recorder. She has worked with us on various Vibrancy Strategy projects. And here she is plotting those distinctive value proposition each of the communities that we worked with came up with. She's kind of creating that visual element there, and some of the strategy work that we've done in person, some of the worksheets that you see on the right. So let's jump into how a strategy mobilizes action in a real world. So when we have done this work of coming up with a vibrancy strategy with communities, what have they done with that strategy? And we've seen various iterations of the outcomes, right? So for with the partner and client Thrive Regional Partnership, we work with them to mobilize a lot of these initiatives in person in the greater Chattanooga area. And one of the success stories we like to tell is Dalton, Georgia, the Burr Park. What was great was that, once this community went through the process of building out a strategy, when the potential funder came along, Jean Burr at this for this particular project was looking for a cause for her legacy, the community was ready to pitch their idea as to how to bring vibrancy to their community. So Jean said, "That's great. I'm going to give you, funding," and they made this Burr Park happen, and they opened up their doors last year, which is amazing. Another example that we see here on the right side is with Fort Oglethorpe. With this team, as you see, this is a plan that they came up with in phases to mobilize different distinctive assets, natural and cultural, physical assets throughout the community. So with, consistent moderate level gifts that came in by applying to different grants and engaging with different funders, they were able to strategize, come up with a way to fund the projects that they came up with in phases, which I think is also great. You know, another thing that we see is when you are able to put together a strong leadership team, another community that we worked with is, you know, now able to lead initiatives like COVID-19 virtual concert series because they have a strong leadership team. When they put their mind to a new strategy, they're able to quickly mobilize it. So how do we help communities come up with creative, innovative solutions to a challenge? We often use design thinking to problem solve with our clients, with communities. The reason why we are using this methodology is because of the human-centered component. So the methodology itself is used for improving products, services, and experiences. What we like about it is that it is going to focus on the community, the stakeholders, the users, instead of, you know, whoever is just coming up with the idea, right? It's going to dig deep into the needs and pain points of the community. And who uses this methodology? We've seen various corporations like IBM, Capital One, entrepreneurs, higher education institutions, federal agencies, local governments utilize this to help them solve complex challenges. And I think what really drives innovation here is that empathy component, which I think helps, especially when coming up with a solution for a community or an organization that serves a community. So earlier I talked about the Vibrancy Strategy Canvas and how this program utilizes that to help come up with the value proposition to problem solve. So here is the HighLevel Framework. As you see, some of these categories, especially if you have done strategy planning or business model canvas, might look quite similar or familiar to you, is because this is a modified version to help communities solve challenges. So the way we address each of those components, such as engagement strategy instead of value proposition, we use distinctive play. So it is community focused and based framework that we utilize to help with our program. So the way we actually run the cohort program, if you'll go to the next slide, is that it is a learn, do, and teach framework. So there is, we will work with the community leader as a team and instruct and provide coaching so that they're able to learn the process and work with their team to apply what they've learned. So it's a learn, do, teach. We have the cohort work sessions that will be scheduled, and you'll actually see what that looks like in the framework in the next slide. And then teach. So there is a subscription to Sprint Base, which is a guided design, virtual design sprint. So there is that 1-year subscriptions to utilize the sandbox, which is just a test out the process. And you can also, you know, decide if you want to run another virtual design sprint using Sprint Base, you're able to do so. So this is a just-in-time experiential learning approach. We work with you on one-on-one sessions to help you learn, do, and teach on 6 critical major milestones. So when we look at that in a 3-month time frame, you're probably wondering, how does that work? As you see on top of that framework is the design thinking process, from onboarding, from research, gathering important insights, focusing your challenge, coming up with, you know, brainstorming ideas, testing some of that idea through a prototype and quick implementation strategy, and showing the output. So you can see that the work is divided into a 12-week frame here. So there is that team component that you're going to be working with your team to strategize. And there is the component where the bridge coach will work with the team leader to equip them to make sure they're able to have a, you know, ensure an effective great session with the team and help them along the way. So next, you'll see we talked a little bit about the platform sprint base. So those of you that are not familiar, there is a page on bridgeinnovate.com that shares more information about the platform. I don't want to go too deep into it, but I think the impact of sprint base is great because it offers such virtual innovation capability in a guided way. So what we appreciate about it is that working with communities and organizations, there are limitations of devices. And what's great about Sprint Base is that it's a web platform. So you do not have to download an app. You can simply use your smartphone as long as you have a device that can connect to Wi-Fi and connect to a web browser, you're able to use it, which is great. So you do not have to have a desktop to be part of the collaboration effort. And it's a blended approach of doing individual and group work. So asynchronous, synchronous work that takes place. So it's a great collaboration platform that can happen virtually, or if there is an opportunity for you to mix in the in-person, that can be easily done. And I would say, for those of you that are thinking like, I don't know the design thinking process, the great thing I think that is maybe the greatest value proposition of Sprint Base is that it provides guidance and tips throughout. So you're able to learn about not only about building a strategy, vibrancy strategy, but you're learning the design thinking process as you go along the 3-month program, which is great. So, if you want to dig more deep into it, please reach out to me. I'm happy to also do a quick demo for you. So you'll just need to email me and we'll go to the next step as to what the output looks like when you participate in the vibrancy strategy and utilize the sprint-based platform, which I think is great. So at the end of the sprint, the vibrancy strategy sprint, it generates a PDF document. A sample sprint story is actually on the next slide that can be shown to you. So here is a sample sprint that was done to share, brainstorm about a better airport experience from check-in to boarding. And once you completed this sprint journey, it creates a summary document, which is great for grant requests or even sharing information with their community or organization leaders to keep them, make sure that they're informed, get that buy-in so that you're able to not only participate in the program, but have a tangible report in a way to share with the constituencies. I think it's a great way to engage with them is to provide this documentation. So what we have seen from this program last year, we actually did our inaugural cohort program starting in actually late October of 2019. And we had the opportunity to work with 3 very different communities and organizations. So we had Charlotte, North Carolina, the Open Streets 704 program. So their challenge was focusing on city, county, and community resources to make the Open Streets, a biannual Open Streets program, more inclusive and engaging for pedestrians and also actually local vendors that were along on the road. So they tackled that challenge with us. Jacksonville, Florida, the Jesse is a nonprofit center complex that is run by Jesse DuPont Foundation, and they were looking for ways to empower the Jesse users to engage in collaboration and community conversation to contribute towards center success. And one of the key things that they really stressed was they have a lot of different stakeholders. How do we come up with a story, a strategy that help them become more successful through collaboration, also using the space that they had available. Next, we had St. Paul, Minnesota, the Metropolitan Council, and they focused a lot about kind of the diversity component. So how might we increase recruitment, retention, and promotion of mid-career employees of color? And they knew that that was something that needed to be addressed organization-wide to start that conversation also more community-wide. So I think they tackled really tough challenges and came up with some tangible action items that they can continue to progress. It was really great to see them go through the program. And I think one of the key components that also helped was, even though these 3 organizations, 3 communities were so far apart in some ways, some of the challenges and inspirations could be easily shared and inspire one another, which they really appreciated. And it was great to see that collaboration. So I wanted to share a quote from one of the participants, Mark Walker from the Jesse program at Jacksonville, South Carolina. He shared how the program helped his team crystallize its thinking around how to best leverage their resources to increase not only revenue, but make it a more of an engaging place for their community. So that was so great to hear. And one of the things that I really appreciated in sharing was complex strategy, you know, making that easier to develop with manageable steps that naturally flow together to create a wholly formed product. So it was a pleasure working with these teams, and I'm excited to see how we can help the next cohorts. So to recap on high-level information to get you started in making maybe some of the decisions to see if this is a good fit. Again, this is a 3-month program. It is completely virtual, so there is no in-person obligation to participate in the program. We have some time to you know, get you prepared before it starts off. The program kicks off in August, so it gives you time to go pitch, go build out your team, and start to think about what is that one tough challenge that you really want to tackle as an organization or as a community. And in terms of time commitment, what you can expect is about 3 to 4 hours a week during that 12-week duration. And then you see the price there. If you are looking to share more information about the program, the recording will be available, but there's also our website, bridgeinnovate.com, under Mastery Services as well. You'll find information about the Virtual Vibrancy Strategy Cohort. I know that some communities and organizations may be going through kind of the grant process to potentially fund the program. If you are in need of any support, I just want to let you know that we are available to support you in any way to make that happen. So please feel free to send me a message to my email, which is available on the slide here. So that is the overview of our Virtual Vibrancy Strategy Cohort program launching in the fall of 2020. I know that was a lot of information provided to you, so I want to spend maybe the next few minutes that's left with us to see if you have any questions that I can answer for you. Please, there will be a follow-up email that will go out to everyone that registered for the session. We'll make sure to include my information as well if you want to reach out directly to ask questions or ask questions about how we can help you with the grant request. What if I don't want to join as a cohort and go on our own? So there is a way, there is information as to running design sprints. I know that some of the communities are ahead. They might have a sprint leader already. We have seen that happen with some of the communities we've had conversations with. There is still a way to utilize sprint-based and utilize Bridge team as a support. There is information on our website as to how you can lead a design sprint with Bridge support, or you might be wanting a fully guided design sprint on your own as not part of a cohort. There's information there, so please reach out to us. Of course, I don't want to spend too much time discussing the details, but there are those different ways to utilize the virtual platform so that you can still utilize that with your team that are maybe still remote at this point. Great. Wonderful. Thank you for joining today. I hope you have a good rest of the day and look forward to that follow-up email for more information. And thank you again for joining Bridge Innovates Inspire event around Virtual Vibrancy Strategy Cohort Program. Thank you.